works, and super excited to bring you part 2 of our 3-part series of how to invest your money if you've got money. Now, we're bringing Army veteran Ken back on, and he's going to tell you what to do with your money by going through a scenario with a CPA and myself of what kind of questions you're going to answer and how the system looks. Now, Facebook has a lot of scams, all right, but if you follow Veteran Trash Talk, you know that we're not a scam, and information is power. All you have to do doesn't cost you anything. Scan that QR code right there. I think it's right there, something like that. Yeah, that'll take you to Veteran Trash Talk. Go to the events and say interested in going, all right, to part 2 of Army veteran Ken and financial security. We'll see you then.
Hey, what's up, Mental Health Nation? Hope everybody's having a great Tuesday. First and foremost up front, I'm going to apologize. Tonight's show is going to be a little bit different. Lynn is not going to be on as per my request because of things I want to talk about. And it's kind of personal, but I think it's something that needs to be said, something needs to get off my chest. So tune in next Tuesday, and we're going to have Chris DeBaker on. He's going to tell us all about his golfing trip, and then I'm going to tell you all about my new adventure that I'm doing here in Italy, where I've actually started volunteering and working in a restaurant as, I wouldn't call myself a chef because I'm nowhere close to that, but I do work in a kitchen. And I'm learning a lot, and I'm learning how to cook authentic Italian food, and it's helping with my Italian lessons as far as learning the language. And so I'm super excited about that. As always, there's a QR code up there on the left, Reach Across America. You can scan over that, and you can go right to their website where you can donate or read to the tombs of the veterans who have passed on. And all, we lost in wars and other things. And so I'm super excited to be part of them. It's an amazing program that they have out there to ensure, even during COVID, they ensured that those wreaths still got on those tombstones. And so it's pretty amazing. You can donate as little as $5. And then along with the other 2 QR codes you see at the bottom, you scan across that and get all the information you want on that as far as mortgages and other things going on as we get new sponsors to come on board. And of course, as always, you have the 10th Mountain Whiskey Spirits up there in the other side corner. I'm a big fan of their bourbon. I was not a bourbon guy. They kind of converted me to bourbon. And so, hey, why not? Try it. Why not? Scan that code. Get some of the good bourbon. You never know, you might like it like I did. I'm introducing all of my Italian friends out here to the 10th Mountain Bourbon, and they love it. So every time I go back to the States or somebody goes to the States, they have to bring it back with me. And huge shout out to Chris Hanks for, making sure those orders get in and the stuff gets to the person who's going to bring it back out to me. And I really appreciate that. But tonight's show is going to be a little bit different. Normally, I don't get political. Normally, I don't get upset about too many things. But there's just a whole lot of crap going on, and I just want to get everything off my chest and talk about it. And so feel free to throw in any comments you want in the comment section. I'll answer you back. The show is going to be short and sweet and to the point. But, this week, it's kind of funny how life is, right? So this week, I started talking about coping with life stress and the importance of finding good measures to do that, right? Because life is ups and downs and left turns and right turns and stressful and things that you think are in the past jump back up in the future. And I'll talk about that in a minute. And things are going okay. And then all of a sudden, bam, left turn signal, right? And how do you handle all those stresses, right? So all my posts today on my social media is going to be about dealing and coping with life stress, because you have to learn how to deal with that, right? Because if you're going through recovery or if you're doing other things going on in your life, you have to learn how to deal with that. So with that, I'm going to dive right into it. So as you guys know, I spent 34 years in the Guard, working at National Guard Bureau Aviation Division. I've been retired now 3 years, and I don't know, guys who don't know my story, don't know the story, what's going on. For about 12 years in the Guard as a mental health warrior, I was going out and publicly speaking about PTSD, my suicide attempt, the importance of asking for help, the importance of knowing it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to let people know that you're having mental health issues and all those things. What you guys don't know in the background is most of the time I did not have senior leaders that supported me in doing that. And it caused a lot of rifts in my career. But I'm thinking everything's going to work out. I'm doing, the best for my soldiers. I'm helping thousands of soldiers to know it's okay to ask for help. The time was changing in the military. And in my mind, that if it upset a couple of people or they got mad, it really didn't matter, right? To me. Because 1 month out of the year, September, I'd go and do a couple of speaking events. Sometimes I would do interviews. During my time at Guard Bureau, if you watch the Able Channel series, Surviving Suicide, that we won the Emmy on, I am actually filmed at my work at National Guard Bureau, and I'm going to talk about that. And all the things that have gone on since I retired. Now, why do I say all that? What does it have any meaning now that it's been almost 3 years? And what's got you all spun up, Cliff Ballman? What's going on with you, Warren? So I was told many times at my work that I need to stand down, that I need to stop doing what I'm doing and just do my work and not go out and do speaking events and talk to soldiers. Even though the suicide rates are going up in the Guard and other things, but I continue with my mission that I thought I needed to do to save soldiers. Now, I am not a glory hound. I don't care about anything like that. My sole purpose in life is to have somebody not go down the path that I went down, and I figure where the chips are going to fall, where they fall, right? So I'm a CW4 in the National Guard Bureau. We have a promotion list called the Order of Merit, the OML. The list came out. I'm number 1 on the list to promote to W5, and that means once they get a voucher, I'm already in a 5 slot, then I can promote. So I am just waiting on that process. Now, at the same time that process is going on, there's a refrag board. Now, if you don't know what a refrag board means, that's a force shaping tool that the military uses to force retire people, get people out, whatever. I wasn't too worried about it because, once again, I'm number 1 on the list to promote W5. I'm in a slot, and the division I'm working for is actively working to promote me. At the same time, Able Channel is filming a documentary on me. They finished that up. They're in final editing. The Guard looked at it, said, hey, in order for us to show it on social media or support this or whatever, you need to change all these things. Able Channel went in, changed all those things, right? So on Veterans Day, and they released it. They did a soft release because of COVID. I think it was 2022. They did a soft release. 2 weeks later, after they released it, I got a phone call 2 days before Thanksgiving that I was being refragged. Completely out of the blue. It screwed me up in the head. I didn't understand what was going on. What the hell are you talking about? And so basically, I am being told that I'm being forced retired. I have no recourse. I can't say anything about it. I can't fight it. I just got to swallow the pill and take it. Okay, I have contacts at USA, Today paper, because I've got articles from many reporters over the years that have done stories on me. The first thing I want to do is pick up the phone and start screaming, hey, I'm being forced retired because I speak out on mental health, PTSD, and suicide. And I know I did because I was told that's the reason why I was refragged by senior leaders who fought the fact that I was being refragged until they would hold themselves to stand down. So I'm giving you a history here, and I'm going to get to the point, the reason why I'm so spun up tonight. So nothing I could do. Now, what do I do as Cliff Ballman? If I go out and make a big stink and I say, hey, look, senior leaders aren't supporting soldiers getting help. I was one of the biggest proponents. I was one of the biggest, loudest mouth speakers out there telling people it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to deal with issues and problems. And then how is that going to be received if I go out and start screaming that they just force retired me because I'm speaking out against it? And so I kept my mouth shut. I didn't say anything because I was afraid, had I opened my mouth and had I talked about it publicly about what was going on with me, and that was my right to do, I didn't. because in my mind, it would keep soldiers from asking for help. It would keep them from, seeking help that they needed, back then. And so I didn't do it. I just kept my mouth shut. I was very upset over that. My whole career was tailored to being CW5. I was high ranking on all my always R's on PT tests. I'm a very fit person. No issues, no problems throughout my whole military career. I took all the hard assignments they wanted me to do as far as working at U.S. Sessions Command, working at Coast Trade Off, working at IMT. All those things I went and did because those were career progression moves that I took those jobs. And I did it good, and I am very good at what I do in my job wise. As a contracting officer, as an IT professional, I built IT systems for the aircraft when we switched from ALSA-A to ACN. I did a lot of good things for the Guard. And so you imagine how I felt when I got slighted from that. But I accepted it. It was a hard pill to swallow. But just like I said, sometimes a door closes and another one opens, right? And so here I am doing my podcast, Mental Health Warrior. My book's been published. I didn't really talk about that. I do have my book discounted to $15.99 during the month of September in support of Suicide Awareness Month. So, it's fine, right? And so I just let it go. And so back in June, I was back in the States for the Emmys, and I was at a friend of mine's house. Another friend of his came over and we were fixing his truck. And he said, "Hey, did you hear about that memo that come out? Apparently there's a memo where they deemed the refrat board to be illegal, and they're fixing the wrongs that were right." And also, so I said, "Oh, that's great. Can I get a copy of that memo? Because obviously I was part of that. I want to see that." Never got a copy of it. So I reached out. Just had another friend of mine that just arbitrarily called me out of the blue. And I asked him, said, "Hey, I heard about this memo. Is it true?" And he said, "Yeah, it is true." And I was like, "Great, put me in contact with the people so they know where I'm at, because now I'm not in the States, I'm living in Italy." And so maybe they tried to contact me and I wasn't, they just couldn't get hold of me, right? It's only been a couple of months since the memo come out. And so he reached out to them. They came back and said, "Oh, well, he wasn't part of that. And so there's no reason, there's nothing there." What? I was just found this out tonight. So you're saying that the refrat board was illegal and you're recalling people, but not me. And yet I can't see the information on what's behind it or get the information that I can go and see if I need to legally do something or not. So as you can imagine, I was pretty upset by that. And so now I have to decide, what I'm going to do. And I know what I'm going to do is now I think I need to say something. And that's why I'm saying something tonight. I'm not saying something because I'm just complaining because it happened to me. No, I'm saying something because sometimes when things aren't right, just like I did the first time when I spoke up about mental health and suicide and asking for help and knowing it's okay and dealing with all the ramifications of that, I think it's time for me to stand up and find out what's going on. I know with other refrat boards going on in the Guard that those have been deemed illegal and other things have gone on. And I guess I'm just going to have to try to dive in and find it. So what's the point of all this? Why did you just waste 15 minutes of my time telling me that? Because it goes back to what I was talking about this week in coping with stress and finding ways to cope with stress. So in my mind, I was going to come on this podcast and I was yell, scream, and rant and do all these things. But you know what? That's not me, right? That's not clip bombing. That's not how I do things. I do believe that things that are wrong in the universe will get righted at some point in time. And I will do things to ensure that one, I get all the information pertaining to me, and B, then I'll decide what I need to do to make it right. Right. And sometimes you just have to do that. Sometimes they say, "Oh, just ride off quietly in the sunset and don't worry about it." But sometimes you got to ask questions and for, if anything, for your own mental health and for your own mental being, right? So that's very important. Sorry for my cut lip. Lloyd had flag football tryouts, and afterwards, him and I was goofing around, wrestling on the football field and stuff, and he hit me in the mouth with his head. But it's okay. He cut my lip a little bit, but it's not bad. So I didn't know what to do with that information, and I'm very honest and open with my podcast, and I know things get political and people get jealous of other people, and they were upset, and some were jealous of the attention I was getting, the things I was doing, and if you were that person, that you were the reason that you made that decision, I just pray for you and pray that everything works out for you, because you're not going to break me. They're not going to send me down the road they sent me down 3 years ago, where I was actually contemplating suicide again. That's how far left turn, and that's how dark they got me to go when they refrighted me 3 years ago. And I absolutely refuse to travel down that road again. And so, part of being a mental health warrior, when crap goes awry and you don't know what to do, and you see things in your life going back down a path you went down, what am I going to do? Am I yell and scream? Am I going to fight? Am I going to get drunk? Am I going to, have those thoughts of suicide come back into my head again and go back down that road? Or am I going to come on and the podcast and talk about it? And I think that's something very important. And one of the things you'll see that I'm going to post this week in coping with stress is learning how to talk about it. And that's what I'm doing tonight. And you think, oh, that's kind of silly. You're just sitting here talking in front of a camera. You're not really talking to people, but I know people will listen to this podcast, and maybe it will help some and help others. Is that if you're in a similar situation that I am, and something had done you wrong, and then you thought I was going to be made right again, and then it wasn't, how do you deal with that stress? Do you get angry? Do you get mad? Do you get upset? Do you go to name calling? Do you go to fist fighting? How do you handle it, and what do you do? And so we're very smart people. All my listeners are very intelligent, and I think things will be handled the way they need to be handled, but you need to keep yourself in check, right? So if you're at work and stuff happens and you're very mad and angry and upset and pissed off, just walk away for a second and get your marbles about you. Just like I did tonight, I went outside and took my shoes off and walked around grounding a little bit and kind of got my mind refocused on stuff, because you know what? There's a lot of crap going on in the world today. Trump had his second assassination attempt. There's a whole bunch of things going on with Israel, and you got the whole Russia thing and NATO approving weapons to go in. Things about ready to get real. And if you read the news, or if you're on X or wherever you get your news from, and you're reading everything about going on, it's a pretty scary, stressful time. And I wonder, is the fact that I read all this stuff, and I've been in the military a long time. A lot of my listeners are veterans, and you guys ain't stupid. You know what's coming down the pipe, and some crap's going to happen next month in October. Now, I'm sitting in Italy, and so my force protection is a little bit different. If I would have been back home in the States, in Virginia, obviously, than what it is here. But it's something very serious going on, and people out there, you guys need to be prepared for it. We had 4 Patriots that sponsored us for a while, but you need to make sure that you're prepared for anything, because what's going on in the world now, and I don't know if you guys have read into the World Economic Forum and what just came out today and their big conspiracy theory and what they've been talking about, it's going to get pretty bad. And I'm sure you all read the stories of what's going on in Springfield, Ohio, with the illegal immigrants going in there, what they're flying them into now some small town in Alabama. The crime rates are skyrocketing. And if you're like me and you get your car insurance bill, I wonder why the hell is my car insurance gone up so damn much? And I haven't been in a traffic accident in years. Then you find out it's gone up almost 73% for a lot of people because of all the illegals running around wrecking cars, and all these insurance companies are paying out money, and now all of our rates go up, and that's very frustrating. And so it doesn't matter what aisle you're on. I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. I'm independent, always have been independent. And I always vote for the best candidate that I think follows what my policies. And I've talked about that before on the show. But things getting way past that now. And I just hope and pray that everybody out there is watching their back and being prepared for. I don't know what's going to go on, but it's if you did open source intelligence like I was trained to do and other stuff, I just hope that you've gone out there and research and pay attention to what's going on and make sure that you have at least 3 months provisions and other things. I mean, that's good to have anyway, just for natural disasters. I grew up in the Midwest. We always had tornadoes and ice storms. And, here in Italy, we flipped the switch here. It was really hot in August. Now we're in September. It's been raining now. It didn't rain all of August, hardly. It's cooling down now. Instead of being in the 90s and 100s, it went down to like 70s. It's going to be 70s now for a while. And that was a quick switch to hit. So just make sure that you're prepared and make sure that, that you and your family and your loved ones are taken care of. And, it's very important because it's going to be a wild ride the next 6 weeks, I'm afraid. And I would not be doing my listeners any justice if I didn't openly talk about that. And I just always want, just like I talk about with your mental health, always be prepared, always have different tools in your toolkit, always be, ready for the unexpected, because it's okay if you're to be a little bit over prepared, right, instead of under prepared. Because if you're under prepared, you'll never catch up. If you're over prepared, then things will be fine. At least you have a start point. And if you don't know how to do anything, you can go out and research it yourself. I talk about herbal medicines all the time and everything, always having, that stockpile. And I think it's important to do for your mental health and for other things. It's going to be interesting. And I know everybody out there who's listening to this, and a lot of my veterans buddies who all been talking and reaching out to each other. We kind of see the writing on the wall where this is going to go, and no matter what side wins, it's going to be crazy. And just make sure that you keep yourself in check, and that make sure you got your little area of AOC area operation, covered. So if your AO is covered and then your family's covered, then you're going to be good to go. And that's one less mental thing you can take off your plate and kind of keep to yourself, because it's going to be important. So, but always remember too, along with food, you need to make sure you have a water source or a way to purify water. And I think sometimes we forget about that. Just in case you go through times where you don't have electricity and other stuff. And so it's very important to look at all aspects of things. And, one thing people don't talk about is, making sure you have, cash on hand and other stuff. Because, what happened in China the other day when the typhoon went through and they were all on a cashless base system, and they pay for everything digitally. And now everybody's cell phones don't work because it went dead and nobody could buy even a loaf of bread because it went to the digital currency. Now, how crazy is that? And they're trying to do the digital currency on us. It's crazy. But I don't know if you guys saw what Israel did with Hezbollah with the pagers and blowing them up. That's a very interesting and scary technology out there that I'm going to do some research on to find out, how they did that, and is it possible for them to do that with their cell phones? I mean, that'd be a little scary. I don't even want to have my cell phone close to me. The way they were blowing up those pages, or where they were just, separate pages they have out there. That was interesting news article I was reading before I came on a couple hours ago. But if you are, this Suicide Prevention Month, I got things off my chest I wanted to talk about. I did that early on. I didn't rant and rave like I was going to. But, I think it was important, and I think there are some things that need to be talked about, and I think we need to have that open conversation. And I think for a lot of times, especially us with podcasts and other stuff in the media, sometimes we get afraid to speak out because they're going to cancel you, and you're not going to go through. Well, first of all, who am I? I'm too small for them to worry about. So I'm just going to say whatever the hell I want to say and go forth. And then sometimes my episodes get played on Reads Across America Radio, and sometimes they don't. I don't know if this episode will go to Reads Across America Radio, but if it does, Reads Across America Radio replays my podcast at 8 p.m. on Fridays, Eastern Standard Time, and 10 p.m. on Sundays. Super easy to find. Just download the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, or the Odyssey app. Search for Reach Across America Radio, and you see my program along with all the other ones. I forgot to throw that in the beginning, so I'll throw that in now, and I'll say it again here at the end. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So I'm gonna have probably a fairly long night running scenarios through my head, because that's just what I do. I know going on tonight and talking about it, because it wasn't right. Anybody out there who's ever had something done to them or done wrong by them, that's a hard pill to swallow, right? And that's a hard thing to take. And it just eats at you slowly. It keeps running through your mind. Keep getting mad, keep mad. But one thing I had to learn, and one thing this taught me, I will say out of anything, to let things go. And I tell you what, it has made a big change in my life. And so one of the things I wanted to talk about when I got on here and I rant and raved is I'm going to let it go. I'm going to do the process that I can do legally to ask the questions, to find out the facts. And then it'll be what it'll be, right? And then let it go and quit dwelling on it. I think especially when you're in recovery, especially when you're dealing with PTSD or other issues and something goes on, you have a tendency to dwell on it so much that it actually adversely affects you and what you're going through. And so the hardest thing I had to learn is to let things go. And, if you're in recovery, or if you're in, if you're dealing with PTSD or in therapy or whatever, and you have a setback, it's okay. It's all right. Don't dwell on it. Know the reason why you had that setback and just move forward again and just be done with it, right? And once you learn how to do that, and the saying is, well, it'll be what it'll be. It is what it is. And just move on to the next day. And that's all we can do, right? That's life. That's part of coping with life. That's part of coping with things that go on in your life that you have no control over. I had no control over what went over with me when I made that choice not to stop my fight for mental health and continue to reach out to soldiers and to ask for help and tell them to go get help. That was my choice. I could easily say, okay, yeah, sure, I'll quit doing it. But I chose not to. And I won't. And I will continue to do that. I am not going to stop talking about mental health. I'm not going to stop talking about suicide and prevention and things like that, because I've obviously, in my mind, I hope that somebody out there won't go down the road I went down. And if you had a bad day like I did, I went outside and walked around for 30 minutes and just kind of got my mind set back right, and don't dwell on it so much. Just figure out a way to let it go. And, you'll be a lot better off for it. And the thing, especially for veterans and people like me that I'm very type A, and anybody out there who served in the military understands that it's hard to let things go that you can't control. And that's hard. And that once you learn how to not allow those things that you can't control to control you, I know it sounds kind of funny, but if you know what I'm talking about, it, your life becomes a lot more happier and a lot less stressful, because you can't control everything. You can't control the universe. You can't control the weather. You can't control this. You can't control what runs around in your mind, and you can control your thoughts. You can control your actions, and you can control other things in your life. You just can't control what other people do. You can try to influence them, but you can't really control other people, and you should anyway. But the better you make yourself, the less control you give to people, right? And so if you learn how to have self-discipline, self-motivation, if you learn how to do all those things, all the little chatter around you goes away. I normally have the T-shirt in here, but I wore it the other day to work. Quit being a trigger pansy, because it's hilarious to explain that to Italians what that means, and I think it did a pretty good job. But there's a lot of truth to that shirt. Don't quit being a trigger pansy means, don't let all the little stuff around you continue to bother you, continue to upset you, continue to control your life. Let it go. I mean, it's funny and hilarious as that T-shirt is, and you can get it at VeteranTrashTalk.com. They're still available. Go out there and order it, and it's amazing how many people get upset by that T-shirt. It's amazing how much of a conversation that T-shirt, you get involved with it. That part really amazes me. And it's funny because I wore that T-shirt when I do speaking events, and it's interesting to see the reaction I get from people when I wear that. And they're like, "Oh, you can't wear that. That's too political." How is that political? And first of all, if you're triggered by it, you need this T-shirt to begin with, because why in the world is a T-shirt triggering you anyway? That's the funny thing. People nowadays are too uptight over way too much stuff that doesn't mean a damn thing in the world, and they are way too uptight by that. And we just need to learn to get back to having tougher skin and not letting every little thing bother us. And I think for a lot of people, mental health wise, it would go a lot better for them, and a lot better for all of us, really. But if you are having a bad week, or if you're having a hard time in coping with stress of life and everything going on, just know that this week I've dedicated all my postings and all my things I'm doing, my mental health break, all that's going to be geared to coping with life stress. And how funny is that? I did all my postings this morning. It's now 11:45 at night, Central European time. And then I had this stuff come on, right? It's coping with life stress. And so what did Cliff Bauman do to cope with the life stress of what went on when he thought finally a wrong in his life was going to be done right, and then he find out it's not? Well, I went outside. I took a walk. I talked to family and friends a little bit about it. I'm talking to my online friends, my podcast buddies now about it. If you guys got any opinions, please throw it down. If you got any tips out there to help anybody prepare for anything, or survivalist tips or anything, hey, throw them out there. You never know who's going to help, or tools in your toolbox that you use in coping with life stress. What do you do to cope with your life stress? Do you go for a walk? Do you exercise? Do you maybe have a drink? I play video games. Played PS5 today. Played Destiny. Been playing Iron Banner a lot. That helps me relax. I'll probably play some Iron Banner and drink some 10th Mountain Bourbon when I get done with this show, just to relax some and kick back. I can't stay up too late because I got to work at the restaurant tomorrow. So I got to work till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning tomorrow at the restaurant, which I really enjoyed. I'm really glad that I'm very thankful that Antonio has allowed me to go in and volunteer to work in the kitchen and work, because it's something I've always wanted to do my whole entire life. I'm 54, I'm not getting younger, and it's truly amazing to go in there and I'm standing by the fryers or cooking steaks or whatever I'm doing. They don't let me touch the pasta yet, because Italians are very particular about the pasta. I will learn that one day, though. I'm a pretty good cook, but don't be afraid to do something new. Don't be afraid to talk about something, and don't be afraid, just like I did tonight, to come on and if you're upset or something bothering you, to air it out and let it go. And that's really was a point of my conversation today, is getting things that were bothering me off my chest, because if I let it stay inside of me, it would have eaten me alive, and I didn't want to do that. And so, it wasn't something easy to talk about. It's something that I don't publicly really talk about a whole lot, and never have. But it was something that I think I needed to get off my chest and get out there, for anything, just for my own mental health and my own, mental agility to continue with what I do and what's going on, is just to let you guys know that that's what happened, and that's what went on. And you know what? It's okay. It's all right. I'll be fine. It's okay. And you know what? If you're going through something similar to that, or something very similar, or something different, but very, along the same lines, it's going to be okay. you know, life has a funny way of balancing things out if you allow it to. And I'm just going to allow it to balance itself out and see where it goes. But you know what? Next week, Lynn will be on. She was going to come on tonight. Like I said, I wanted to talk about some things that were personal. And so she said, hey, I'm just going to bow out. And obviously, Chris isn't on. But Chris, the producer, the baker, will be on next week. He's going to talk all about his 27 holes of golf he played about. I'm going to share some pictures of me in the restaurant here at Kingdom. You guys know that I posted some pictures about that, made some videos about me working. And maybe I'll come up with some new ones since I'm working this week. And it just gives me something to do, kind of gives me a sense of purpose. But I'll tell you what, these my coworkers at this restaurant, these hats off to them because they work so hard and so many hours and they don't make a lot of money. And, it's really a humbling experience for me, to work with them. Thanks for what you said, Joe. Thanks for checking in. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing and, keep moving forward. But yeah, they work so hard for so little money and they're so happy to do it. And they work 6 days a week. And they work 12, 14 hours a day. And so I'm really thankful for that. But hey, listen, take what I said with a grain of salt. If you're in the same place, please, learn how to cope with your life work stress. I'm going to have memes about that. I just think it's important. And it's funny how the universe throws things in your lap for me to talk about. But just like I said earlier on, you got Visa Across America, your QR code there up on the left. You can scan that with your phone. Today, donate as little as $5 to ensure the wreaths are there on the fallen soldiers, the veterans that have passed on. My area is Arlington Cemetery, but if they outsell Arlington Cemetery, they do make sure that it reads across all the veteran cemeteries during the holidays. And along with that, you got the 10th Mountain and the other QR codes there you can scan, for our sponsors coming up. Apologize, I don't have much information on them, but I'll get it later on and be able to describe that more. And just remember that Reads Across America Radio replays my broadcast at Fridays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 10 p.m. Super easy to find. Just download the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, or the Odyssey app, and check out all the great programming along with mine. You just search for Read, and you'll find Reads Across America Radio. Next week, this Friday, the podcast that we had on last week with Chris will be on. So if you missed that last week, it's going to be on the radio show this week. So you'll be able to tune in and listen to that on Fridays and Sundays. So be sure to catch that. He's quite an amazing guy. And the things that he's done in his life as he recovers now from, his car wreck. But, of course, his name is Christopher Pace with a K. Be sure and follow him out on all of his social media. He is going to be posting on his YouTube channel about his recovery from his second TBI. And for somebody that has 2 TBIs like I have, I know his road recovery is going to be tough, but I also know he's going to make it. So if you get a chance, be sure to follow Christopher Pace out there. Christopher with a K. He's going to be on the radio show this week on Friday. But hey, you guys take care of yourself. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to continue the fight. And hey, if you need to get something off your chest and you don't have any way to do it, message me and we'll get you on the show and you can get off your chest, because that's what we're here for. It is Suicide Prevention Month. We are our brothers and sisters keepers. So be sure to watch out for each other and pick up that phone and call and just make sure we're all doing okay. And if you are in a bad way and you're a little upset like I did, because you had a little bit of bad news and you realize it wasn't that big of a deal. Right. So whatever. Just remember you are important to somebody. That person wants you here tomorrow. And please, you got to give them a chance and pick up that phone and give them a call. However, if you do pick up the phone and give them a call, it's the middle of the night, they don't answer, do not take that as a sign you need to continue with what you're thinking. Please call 988 or text crisis to 741-741 because they might have just had their phone on silent and they didn't know that you can be an emergency contact for them. So don't take that as a sign. Please, you guys, don't take that as a sign. I've heard too many stories about that. But hey, you guys take care of yourself. It's going to be a good weekend. Be sure to get out there and enjoy the